Hello.
Hello,
I've
everybody.
just found a setting on my new computer that I didn't know it had, and it's asking me whether I want my headphones to be powerful, performance, or extreme. And
Extreme.
I don't know.
Extreme,
I'm
obviously.
scared.
Extreme.
What if I put it on and it just plays "Get the Funk Out" and that's all it'll do? I mean, it's a banger.
Then
of
we'll
a
get a
song.
copyright strike, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has done nothing.
That's-
That has changed nothing. Good afternoon and welcome to Tech Bugs and Rock and Roll. I've
Starting
been
off
up
with
since
all three at once.
7:30 and I've drunk so much coffee today that I went outside earlier and threw an orange in the sky and the orange went into space.
Hey. I'm not going outside. It's all wet.
Yes. That's
Just
fine.
only
I've got growing things. I have tomatoes and yes.
Ah,
Hello.
yes.
There. Welcome to Tech Bugs and Rock and Roll. I am struggling so much at the moment with the context switch. I've literally been sat at my desk since 7:30, bouncing between writing up examples of all of the stuff in CSS, which is fun and interesting. But my word, CSS can do a lot of things that most people
Yes.
have no idea it can do.
Yes.
And bouncing in and out of group chat and drinking quite a lot of coffee. And so going to the point where I have to use my mouth words is...
The group chat's been on one today.
It really
It's been
has.
really good.
It's been a quality day.
It's insane that
I think started this morning with the first thing I posted to it was, does a spider have six armpits and one crotch, or 2 armpits and 5 crotches?
they're not arms.
Yes.
Because
And
it
that
was
conversation is still going on.
and it was
Yeah,
generally
well, we're on to
agreed
hyper spiders now. So.
that a spider has 7 crotches, but an octopus has 8 armpits.
Yes.
I can't believe
yes.
how unhinged the group chat has been this week, and I have not even been the driving force behind most of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been... my brain is running extremely hot because of
Mine's being
work.
turned into mush. Yeah.
Yeah. But also I have been enjoying the out of my new book that I say new, my book that I got from the internet.
Oh yes.
Do you have the book with you, Randall?
I
you show it
don't.
to the
It's
camera for the
upstairs.
audience?
No, but I have roped Ben into making some animations, which I can then
beautiful.
use to do like YouTube critical readings.
No, you can't.
Yes,
you
I
can't
can.
and,
Yes,
no, you can't
yes,
and
you
you
should.
mustn't. And I'll tell you why you can't and you mustn't.
Mhm.
Is because what will happen... So the book in question is a science book for Christian schools.
Yes.
Which goes into such things as, I'm going to summarize here, atoms are held together by Jesus.
Sorry, specifically Christ Jesus, which is
Christ
the phrase
Jesus.
Yes.
Christ
While
Jesus
the
specifically
unsaved-
is only said by Christians. You
It
can say
actually-
Jesus Christ, but if you say Christ Jesus,
While the unsaved don't know how atoms hold together, we, the faithful, who have read Colossians 1:16 and 17. Yes. Also,
now, the reason I think it would be a terrible idea to make visualizations is that before you know it, actual schools in actual America will be using your visualizations unironically to teach science.
you got to put
And then you will become a
Satan.
celebrity because they won't know that it's comedy because they don't understand British people.
I
What's
was
that
thinking of doing
YouTube
it as a kind of
comment rule?
VTuber thing anyway.
Oh,
You can't
I
make
don't know what that
satire
is.
so
Poe's
good
law.
that nobody will. Yeah. Oh, is it? It's just that,
Yes.
and it's just
Poe's law says that there are certain fringe groups whose actual beliefs are so completely out there it is impossible to satirize them.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't at this point, without wanting to tap the sign, it's impossible to write satire about Donald Trump because the best comedy writers in the world can't come up with anything that is so dumb that you know it's a joke.
Yeah.
And
we just had Tom Lehrer died this week, right? Baruch Dayan Hamet, he died this week, and one of the things that he said is that he didn't want to be writing satire anymore because it was too hard. And this was in
So let's take a moment to talk about Tom Lehrer because Tom Lehrer is an absolute dude.
One of the best to ever do it. Yeah.
Yes. And there's a couple of little things that I knew about when they happened, and then I sort of forgot. And then this week, with him having died and being prominent on social media,
we were just talking about him as well. Rendle and I were talking about Tom Lehrer and the fact that he had outlived Ozzy Osbourne the day before.
Yeah.
We cursed him and he died.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess Ozzy just got to the other place and went, I need new material. And they're like, all right, we'll bring someone in for you, Oz. You just sit tight. And but he obviously wrote these wonderfully satirical songs based on his experience as a physicist and a maths teacher and all kinds of things. And he lived long enough for them to name enough elements that he got an entire extra verse out of the Elements song. So I went down this rabbit hole because I'm like, oh, I wonder. And I discovered that there's a missing piece, because the element Lawrencium does not appear in either the original Elements song, which was, I believe, first published in 1961, but it also doesn't appear in the version he wrote in 2020 when they finally named Tennessine and Organoson, and they had enough. And I was trying to figure out why this is, and I think Lawrencium fell through a temporal loophole, because I believe it was announced in 1963 that Lawrencium had in fact been discovered in 1958.
Okay.
So if you sat down,
the knowledge existed, but not to Tom Lehrer, right?
Yeah, it was one of those, like, they did a bunch of experiments, and it took several years, and he happened to publish the original song during the window when the experiments were finished, but the results had not yet been peer reviewed. And so I think, like, the simplest explanation of all this is at some point he went, give me all the elements that have been found since I published the song, and Lawrencium didn't make the cut because it had been retconned to have originally been and it's just I love this whole thing. Like, element naming is one of those wonderful things of, like, well, this thing exists but we're not sure what to call it, and we should maybe call it this but we're not going to call it that. And I'm fascinated by things that get named and then renamed, and the extent to which, like, can you dead name an element? If an element used to have a name and then the scientist who claimed to have discovered it was discovered to have fabricated their research, and so it was unnamed and then renamed. But if you were writing, say, contemporaneous fiction set during the period of history when it was called Hafnium instead of the Rogenium or whatever it ended up being called, would you call it that? It's
not one that it's chosen for itself. Which, to me, when you dead name somebody, the offense that you're committing is disrespecting a choice that they've made for themselves.
Yeah, but I mean, so you could you dead name an Apatosaurus by calling it a Brontosaurus?
You could be incorrect.
There aren't Brontosauruses.
No, they're called Apatosauruses now.
No, they're not. They're called Brontosauruses.
No, they're called Apatosauruses. The reason you don't know that, by the way, is that you are old enough that they were still called Brontosauruses the last time you engaged with dinosaurs on a meaningful level.
The two big things.
But also, you haven't had kids, and so you never saw Barney and his bucket full of dinosaurs, in which there was an Apatosaurus, and I had to go off and look up what an Apatosaurus was, because I'd never heard of it, and it was a Brontosaurus.
I did actually have to consult some children recently, because in the course of the thing I'm working on at the moment, which is the Complete Engineer's Guide to CSS, I had to talk about additive and subtractive color models, and I was like, you learned in school. And I'm like, I should check people still get taught in school that red, yellow, green are the primary colors. And so I asked my siblings to ask their children, what are the primary colors? And got back red, blue, and maybe another one. Red, blue, and yellow, but pink is best.
Right, yes.
Red, blue, yellow, but I like black, and brown should be one, but it's not. So, but no, the primary colors of paint, the primary colors of the subtractive color model.
Yes, Willow will happily.
There was a great talk in London, NDC London, about this. Somebody got, I think she was Australian, maybe even, and she did the whole paint thing, and she did the light thing, and went into all of the different color spaces, and it was a really, really good talk with practical with props. I love a talk with props.
Well, no, when Willow was in primary school, they had been taught a lot of things by me, because I worked on the principle that the why should be answered for as long as possible. And so generally explanations ended with quantum and we don't know. But one of the things that I taught them was that the primary colours were red, green, and blue, because I was showing them how colours work on the internet and how to do different colours with like the hashtag thing. And so they were in art class, and the teacher said, "So, who can tell me what the primary colours are?" And Willow, red, green, and blue. And the teacher was like, "No, I'm afraid it's that's not right." And you've both met Willow, so Willow insisted that it absolutely was, because their dad had told them, and then had to be sort of talked down gently. Came home that night and was sort of, because I got a thing wrong. And I went, "Well, your teacher was technically wrong, because the primary colours are cyan, yellow, magenta, and key." So then they went back and had fun with that one. But they did get payback 5 years later when they were doing optics in physics, and the teacher said, "What are the primary colours?" And everybody's hand went up and everybody went red, blue, and yellow. And the teacher said no, and all the hands went down except Willow's. And it's kind of like, so I knew proper stuff.
I learned biology from somebody who thought ostriches could fly. And that was the day I decided the education system had nothing left to offer me. I think I was probably 13.
I was that annoying kid in biology classes whose parent, my mum is a GP. And particularly when we came to, like, doing the putting a condom on the banana bits of sex ed and whatever, and all of that stuff. Because like my mum had given me a crash course in all of this stuff way before school ever did, because I have migraine with aura. So I need to be aware of like what contraceptives I can take and things like that. And so the teachers were so annoyed with me.
Anyway, I want to finish talking about Tom Lehrer.
Like, well, actually,
yes, Tom Lehrer.
Yes.
So one, he lived long enough to write an extra verse of the Element song and get like a complete stanza out of it, except Laurentium apparently fell through the gaps. Two, I did not realize until he open sourced, public domained all of his work in 2022. He just put the whole lot on the internet and said, "This is yours now. Do anything you like with it. You can record it, you can sell it, you can remix it. I don't care." He never married and he has no children, and so he didn't have like an estate he was going to leave it to. And I guess he just went, "Oh, you know what? You can have it. I don't need it anymore." But it also came out relatively recently that he put a joke in a mathematics paper that was published in 1957 and is in the archives of the National Security Agency, and nobody noticed it for 60 years.
Brilliant.
Because he wrote a song called Lobachevsky about the mathematician Nikolai Ivanovich Lobachevsky, and
how academic publishing works.
In his paper on probability, The Gambler's Ruin with Soft-Hearted Adversary, 24th of January 1957, he cites 6 reference papers, and the third of those is Analytic and Algebraic Topology of Locally Euclidean Metrizations of Infinitely Differentiable Riemannian Manifolds, unpublished, by Lobachevsky. And somebody contacted the NSA in about 2017 and went, "How long have you known about the Tom Lehrer Easter egg in your research library?" And they went, "The what?" And they said, Lobachevsky. And they went, the what Lobachevsky? And yeah, it had been in there for 60 years until anybody noticed it.
Oh, I'm sad that you didn't read the name of the paper in the voice. Yes.
Analytic and algebraic topology of local Euclidean metrization of infinitely differentiable Riemannian manifolds.
There you go.
Yeah, that's my best Welsh accent.
I'm not going to share the Tom Lehrer fact that I know, because it's Eli's and they told me the other day, and so I will let them.
Yeah.
Yes.
He what?
Tom Lehrer invented the Jello shot.
It's likely that the idea had multiple geneses, but he is the person that people point to as the most likely single inventor of the concept of the Jello shot. It was to try and drink booze when they weren't allowed to have booze. It's like, oh, it's just Jello, and they did. You can there's an anecdote from him somewhere where he's talked about it, and it's like all the different experiments they did. They tried gin, they tried vodka, they tried different kinds of Jello, they tried all these different things, and it was cheap orange Jello and vodka that turned out to be the real winner.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. His contributions to humanity are unparalleled, honestly.
Yeah.
So Kieran has just commented, "I can do that bit of the Lobachevsky monologue from memory." I had an interesting little nudge down the memory hole this week, because there was a thread going viral on Blue Sky about you're old enough to, because the UK age verification things, you're old enough to do this if you've got your number 118. You're old enough to do this if you've ever rewound a cassette with a pencil. And somebody posted, "You're old enough. If you need help, write quick on the double. Have pity on the city, because man, it's in trouble." And my brain just filled in the entire rest of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Partners in Crime, which apparently I can still remember every single word of.
It's funny what stuff comes back, isn't it? That was me today sharing the Ariel Needs Legs video in the group chat, where I was like, "Oh yeah, this is in the brain banks from 11 years ago." So
yeah. I mean, a month ago I forgot my desktop password and couldn't get into my own computer, but I can still remember all of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, there's an obvious solution.
So
here.
that's that. Yes.
I
Sorry, password is too retro. Use something more contemporaneous.
When I was 8 years old, I learned Jabberwocky to do in our class, kind of, get up and perform something and whatever. And so I learned Jabberwocky, and that's still in there.
'Twas brilliant.
I've got, Hit Me Baby One More Time in German.
Yes, did Geir and Jimble in the Mire and Mimsy were the Borogroves.
Wabe.
And then was it Asimov retconned it
they
later?
Gaired and gimbled in the Wabe, not the Mire.
The Wabe, sorry. I always get those two mixed up.
All Mimsy were the Borogroves and the Moanraths out Grabe.
And there's an anecdote from a teacher who was teaching this, and somebody goes, "Oh, how do you know that?" Like, "Oh, outgrabe is a past participle," and the student goes, "Yeah, because if it was a present tense, it would be outgribe." And the teacher goes, "How do you know that? How do you know?" Like, really, just linguistics. Yeah. Linguistics is the best.
Yeah. There's a wonderful talk it's a lightning talk from a conference on YouTube about how to do GitHub in German, because it's basically talking about the fact that people who speak German and work in German have picked up all these English expressions like cherry picking a commit, and they can just conjugate it into all the different German verb forms. Like,
but cherry pick is obviously separable, right? A separable verb.
It's one of those where like cherry pick, but there's a bit of me wishes that it was like helicopter, and it's actually there's chair and there's repick, and those are the two words we put together, and everyone just assumes that it's cherry pick.
But presumably it operates in German like Fernsehen, to watch TV. Like but what you do is you say "Ich sehe Fern," and if you want to say "I really like seeing TV," you say "Ich sehe gern Fern." The Fern goes to the end. So I really hope that the cherry goes to the end of the sentence.
Oh no, cherry pick is just a word. It's not separable. Cherry pick is a word, but then it gets conjugated as if it was a German present participle verb into all these kinds of things.
Then it should.
I'm just going to go onto twitch.tv and I'm going to wield the righteous banhammer with extreme prejudice, because
imagine,
fuck off.
Because you know how the Germans are kind of like world famous for their efficiency. Imagine how much more efficient they'd be if their language wasn't completely insane and just made up of.
Once you learn it.
All languages are completely insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. But yes. What was the one I saw the other day? I could never remember the actual words, but I remember the literal translations, and the word for hovercraft is air cushion boat.
Which makes sense.
Talking about hovercraft in other languages, I just can't think of the it is a Monty Python bit, isn't it? My hovercraft.
My hovercraft is full of eels. The obscene Hungarian phrase book. So
yes.
Let's go back to talking about colors, because I got a bit about colors, because I've been doing lots of stuff with colors this week.
How many colors? How many blues are there?
Well, there's an infinite number of blues in theory. We think that the human eye, the dynamic range of the human eye, is probably about 10 million different colors and shades, but it also has a remarkably high dynamic range. So, like on a dark night, you can see 10 million different shades of dark, and on a bright day, you can see 10 million different shades of bright. So it's all a little bit fuzzy. But so I've been digging into all the stuff that CSS can do now, because writing a course about it. And so CSS color model pops up, and they're like, yeah, you got this much red, this much green, this much blue. And everyone's like, all right, good game. And then they're like, oh yeah, if you want to, you can write them in hex digits. And we all go, yep, fine. We think we know what that is. And then they go, oh yeah, but also you can do it with hue, saturation, and lightness. And the artists go, yay. And the programmers go, what? Because they're not creative. And then you figure out, okay, so we can tweak the hue, and then this all gets, and then they come along there, well, actually, we've also got hue, whiteness, and blackness. And you're like, is that a thing? And yeah, you can make any color by mixing a hue and a certain amount of white and a certain amount of black.
But is it any color, right? What are all these color spaces that you can create with these different bases? Because they're not going to be the same, surely.
Well, this is the interest. So there's a thing called gamut. and gamut is the range of colors that a particular
orbit.
device is capable of reproducing.
It's the thing that
And
Linus Tech
there
Tips are
are-
always talking about when they review monitors.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that in software development, web development, it's kind of pointless because no matter how good your equipment is, somebody's going to be looking at your website on like a crappy Samsung TV potato. So it's not really, but gamut is, so there are colors that you can print, but you can't put on a computer screen. And there are colors you can put on a screen that you can't print and all these kinds of things. And there's that wonderful optical illusion that did the rounds last week. It's called Titan's Eclipse. Which, basically it messes with the rods and the cones in your eye, so that because the way that the human
it's like the after image
works,
thing where you have a negative. It tricks your brain into going into the negatives of a color.
But basically, it exploits the fact that in nature, like if you look at something which is very, very bright pink, then the brightness is going to trip so you've got red and green and blue sensitive cones in your eye, color cells. And even if you're looking at something very, very bright red, the fact that it's that bright is going to trip the yellow and the blue a little bit. But if you can fool it by saturating the yellow and blue by staring at a green thing, and then slowly shrinking the green out, what you get is a form of red that is just kind of off the scale redder than any red you've ever seen in your life before. And it is bizarre. It is mind-melting.
It was so weird.
So
it was originally done with lasers, wasn't it? And then someone figured out how to do it with this back.
Well, we don't know. There is no one person has done both of these things and gone on the record. There was a story in the news last month about a laboratory that had used lasers to create a certain kind of stimulation in the optic nerve.
And that's what OSO was, right?
Yeah, they wrote this headline about we've seen a color that no one's ever seen before, and which is kind of cool. And then someone went, actually, there's this old optical illusion that you can do on a web page, and that's Titan's Eclipse, it's called, and it's very, very cool.
Going back to the CSS thing, isn't there also hue, saturation, and value? Is that, or have I dreamed that?
No. So that is another. So the way that this model got adopted into CSS is hue, saturation, and lightness. It's also called HSB and HSV, which are different names for the same thing, but it's the same. It's the same model. Value, or brightness, or lightness. But then they started adding a bunch of other color models. So there is lab color, which is one of the ones that's used in broadcast.
Oh, yeah. You can get golden ones, you can get chocolate ones. I think you can get black ones.
Yes, and the black ones, the license is much cheaper. If you want a golden one or a red one, it's more expensive because color licenses cost more in broadcasting. So...
yes, also you're taking them away from people who need them for guide dogs.
So lab color, you have lightness, and then you have the A number and the B number. And the A number tells you where it is on a line that goes from green all the way to red, and the B number tells you where it is on a line that goes from yellow all the way to blue. And so you can also make blue using lab. And then there's LCH, which is lightness, chrominance, and hue, I think, which is another model that got adopted from broadcasting.
That's a band name.
And then... in 2020, some guy in Sweden was bored one day and he went, lab color doesn't really work very well on the internet because, like, if you have a blue and a yellow that are mathematically the same brightness, actually the yellow looks a lot brighter to human beings. So if you have white on this... and so he invented a better one, which he called OK Lab, because it's like lab, but it's okay. And so there's OK Lab, and now there's OK LCH as well.
It's like the OK diner that we drive past on the way when we go back home, like go back down to Cambridge.
Now this is where it gets properly batshit, because the 6 models so CSS, you've got named colors, like it's blue, just blue, and you've got hex codes, which can be 3 digits or 4 digits or 6 digits or 8 digits, or you've got HSL, HWB, LCH, LAB, OK Lab, and OK LCH. So you've got 6 models which take a hue. Hue in CSS is an angle. It is where is it on a color wheel that goes from red all the way around through the colors of the rainbow back to red again. And CSS angles can be expressed in degrees, radians, turns.
What are turns? I don't know.
So one turn is all the way around. So
I was thinking with like an E, like ternary. I thought it was something to do with 3. Never mind. Fine. Which is just 2 pi radians. Okay, whatever.
So that's a number between 0 and 1.
I give you mathematicians, listeners, people who, when you tell them a turn, they go, "Oh yeah, it's just 2 pi radians." as opposed to normal people
what's
going,
not to
what is
understand? I
2
don't
pi
get it.
radians? And you're like, it's 1 full turn. And they go, okay, yeah, so you turn,
260 degrees, yeah.
yeah, 360 degrees or 400 gradians
400
for
degrees.
Yes.
people
For
who
people who
use
don't
the
like dividing by
decimals.
3. Yeah,
I don't know where gradients came from. It used to be a prank at school to put someone's calculator into gradients before an exam, because gradients are close enough to degrees that it looks like you got the right answer, but it's just a little bit out. And we had teachers who were wise to this and would not mark you down if you'd accidentally done all your trigonometry in grads. Because
that's rather
so anyway,
sweet of them.
so you've got these 6 different color models. So any given shade can be expressed in 6 different color models using one of 5 different ways to tell what shade of blue it is as a different unit around the color wheel. So that's 30 different ways to say it's blue. But then the chrominance or the luminance or the A or the B or whatever, all of them can either be decimals or percentages. And it's like the percentages, like in one of them, 100% is equal to 0.4. And in another one, 100% is equal to 0.15. And another one, 100. It's just these arbitrary numbers. And like, this has no limit, but if you crank it higher than 1.5, you won't see anything. And you're like, is this the lasers thing again? We don't know. And yeah, so I sat down and I crunched all the possibilities, and there are 239 ways that I found to say the color is blue. And that's without getting into any of the legacy syntax. Yeah, the same blue. The full, like RGB 00255, that blue, like blue, blue.
That's
the bluest blue that's ever been blued.
Because that is a prime, I think. Like, how did you get that? Combinatorially, how did you get that?
So there's one name, 4 hex codes. So that gets you down 239, 238, gets you down to 234. And then 234 is a...
It divides by 3, it divides by loads of stuff.
Yeah, it'll be... And for each one of them, there's a way of making it 100% opaque and a way of making it 1.0 opaque. So that gets you your 3 and it crunches down. And yeah, and I sort of thought, holy shit, why did I agree to teach people how this works?
I think I'm right here. If there's 239 ways of saying that something is blue,
yeah,
that means there are 240 ways of saying that something is grey. Because grey is in the CSS standard with an E and with an A, both meaning the same thing, but because
that's true.
The English and the Americans spell it different. So yeah.
I should have gone with that one.
Fantastic.
Are they the same colour?
Yeah.
Because to me, grey with an A is a cooler grey. Should be a little bit blue.
Grey with an A and grey with an E are the same colour, and they are both darker than dim grey.
Yes.
Because grey was defined by the VGA color palette, and then afterwards the X Windows color palette was kind of shoehorned into CSS. And the X Windows color palette comes from 2 developers who separately sat down in the late 1980s. One of them had a paint catalog, and the other one had a box of Crayola crayons. And they added the RGB values to all of those kind of by eye, like holding it up to the screen, because they didn't have color chromatographometer things. And it's just it's wonderful, and it's completely like
validation.
So I think grey is cooler and grey is warmer, but to me E is quite E is a kind of sharp sound, and that means it's a blue thing, and A is kind of like warmer and more mushroomy. So
isn't semiotics interesting?
Who's got an idea?
Yeah, no, they are the same thing.
Oh,
we each keep trying to hide and show it.
An esoteric color model for when you're web programming in Intercal.
Oh, Intercal on Interrails or whatever it was called.
Intercal on Interstates, yeah.
Interstates, that was it.
Because you don't need Ruby on Rails. The most esoteric one I found is to use the OKLCH system with the color wheel expressed in gradients and the others as decimals, arbitrary decimals, which is a little bit esoteric, but
I have this. There's something in my brain telling me, because I've been sort of doing Unity stuff again lately. It reminded me of when I was doing Unity stuff before, and you use like Euler's quotient for doing rotation in 3D space when you're doing matrix multiplication. Sorry?
Quotient or totient?
Oh, whichever. Totient, probably. But also you have to convert to radians to do the sums with the math library, but then you have to convert back to degrees to actually apply them to
Radians
the
are
models.
correct. Radians is how God measures angles. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
The gods.
Sure. Yeah.
No.
All the gods except Loki.
Radians are the objectively correct way of measuring angles.
Radians, to me, have always been the ideal unit for people for whom a circle is a mathematical abstraction that never actually exists. Yeah.
Well, it is. Have you ever seen a perfect circle? No. Only in your mind.
Only in my... damn you! And your perfect platonic
technically
idealism.
Correct. That's kind of correct.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, radians are the best thing to use if you need to measure an imaginary circle that doesn't exist. There is a reason protractors are calibrated in degrees. Yeah.
Yes. Also, I'm trying to find it now because I'm sure I saw something once that somebody had come up with a new set of mathematical axioms that made pi rational.
Oh, okay.
No.
That's interesting.
Yes.
So send that to me if you can't, later if you can't find it now. I was going to pop up Hannah's comment here, which is
Euler's identity. Sorry, that's it. Euler's identity.
It's the pi equals 0. That is a strong contender for a tattoo if I ever get a maths tattoo, because it is just...
Yes.
Hannah has said, I'm surprised the French haven't pushed to support the French terms for colours in CSS as well, which is true. L'Académie Française is I'm also surprised by that now that you bring it up.
So I discovered
something about... Oh, go on.
I needed an example because one of the things that I was writing exercises for today is the selector to find the first part of a language attribute on an HTML element. So I need an example of a sentence which is in Québécois, but was not in French. And they have a word frette in F-R-E-T-T-E in French Canadian, which is not in French, which is cold. But it's like there's an implicit, it doesn't get this cold in France, so they don't need that word, because it doesn't really get down to like minus 25 Celsius in France, but it does in the French-speaking part of Canada. And
well, the Académie Française is having a time at the moment because lots of French speakers in the world are in Africa because colonialism.
Yep.
And there's lots of African sayings, idioms, sort of that are now making their way into French as a result of this. And you can imagine l'Académie Française is not proud with that. And it's just funny. It's just, you can't control language. It's
I have always admired the Académie Française for their sheer bloody-minded, every other country in the world is like download, download, télécharger.
Yes.
Email.
They passed a law.
An email. Courriel.
They passed a law, or they got a law passed in France that makes it illegal for people working in advertising and marketing to use English words when there is a French equivalent.
Yep.
And so, like camping and weekend and cul-de-sac, they had to use the French words for those. And
Jeff, yes, it is.
I've thrown that one in there to try and get the comments on YouTube, because apparently it drives the algorithm if you make a mistake in your video. And so, yes.
So Jeff says, is it just color and not color with a U? It is. And this has been cracking my brain because I'm British. So when I write prose, I write color with a U. And when I write code, I write color with an O and without a U. And the editor I use, Typora, which is fantastic. It's a markdown WYSIWYG editor. It's really, really good. And Typora is smart enough that it doesn't spell check anything that's in a code block. So it does actually show me everywhere I've accidentally spelt color the American way when I meant to spell it the English way. And of course, then I've got validation on all the code samples, so that picks up all the others. So I think I'm going to be able to get it all the way through. Like all of the course notes for this are going to have color with a U when it's for humans and color with an O when it's for machines. But then you get down to serializing your aluminium license using fiber, and the whole language falls apart, and there's pieces of it everywhere. So
yes. Sorry, you've just reminded me of things I haven't installed on my Mac yet.
Yes.
Yeah, I literally have just opened a tab to look at Typora now.
You can't get Typora for Mac. There is no Typora for Mac.
No, you'll have to use Obsidian.
It's not on the App Store.
It's probably on Typora. I think I've got it on the Mac. I don't know. I mean, Obsidian is what I generally use for writing stuff, but Typora is good for it's kind of a little bit closer to WYSIWYG. It's when I want to do stuff which has more formatting and more visuals, and it's not just a stream of text.
Yeah, no, it is on Mac. It's just not on the store. That's cool. I'll have to sort that out after.
So, there's a really interesting setting buried in Typora's configuration, which is just a checkbox saying "Use server in China." And I don't know what server is for. I didn't know Typora did anything cloudy at all, but there is a checkbox, and I'm guessing it's in there somewhere because the Great Firewall has at some point blocked somebody trying to do something, and they've gone, oh yeah, all right, we can spin up. I believe it's at least one of the developers behind it is in China, and there is probably some. But it's a fantastic tool.
Underneath his desk or something.
And it's one of those ones that I used it when it was in beta, and I downloaded it and instantly loved it and thought this is just the best thing I've ever seen, and it's absolutely fantastic. And used it and was like, eventually this is going to go out of beta, and when it does, I'm just going to have to buy it because I don't care how much money it's going to cost.
Does it
and then it came out, and no, and it's $15, and I was like,
$15 forever.
Yeah,
nice. That's so
it's
fair.
Not $15 a month or $15 a year. It's just $15,
and it doesn't have AI, and it doesn't have cloud, and it does what you want it to do, and you give them $15, and you get it for the rest of your life.
It's literally the closest thing there is to a typewriter.
Yes,
when you stick it in full screen mode on whatever you're using, and it is probably, now that you've reminded me of it, it's what I'm going to use to collaborate with you and Arthur on the Speakerati radio
I did not finish
play.
Catching up on the chat before going live here, so I still don't. I haven't read whatever it is that he put in that chat, but it sounds unhinged.
So good, so unhinged, and you're in it, and I'm in it, and Dylan's in it, and Damien's in it, and
of course,
and it just. But I have, because I've been listening. So Eli recommended Cabin Pressure, which I had never listened to. And it is available on YouTube and places, but I have bought it on Audible because I believe that John Finnemore should get paid for his genius. And I think I'm on episode. I'm up to about episode 5, and it is so good. It is one of the funniest things. My favorite line
it's so good.
My favorite line so far is that the captain and the co-pilot have obviously, it's like the introductory thing. And they've obviously had a bet going for several days based on Simon Says. And so the co-pilot won't do things unless the captain says Simon Says. And the captain has bet him that he'll forget. And the co-pilot has bet that the captain will get bored of it before he forgets. And then the owner of the airline asks the co-pilot to do something. And he goes,
sorry, Carolyn, I can't.
I can't help you. And she just goes, oh God, you're not still playing that stupid Simon Says. No, tell me you're not still playing that stupid Simon Says game. And he goes, I'm sorry, I can't. For 2 reasons.
And these two, the co-pilot is Benedict Cumberbatch, and the pilot is Roger Allam.
No, other way around.
It's brilliant.
The captain is Benedict Cumberbatch because he's the younger one.
Oh, sorry, of course it is. Yes, because the co-pilot has been busted down.
And the co-pilot is sort of like very sort of.
I'm not going to spoil you. I don't remember when it gets.
Yeah, it's so good.
And the guy, it's brilliant. And Anthony Head's in it later on. And if you listen to some of the recordings from, I think it's season 3, you can hear my sibling and I laughing in the audience, just about.
Yay! Yeah. But there's but the thing. Words. I had a thing in my head.
Art's audio thing.
No.
That's why we got onto Cabin Pressure.
Oh, that's it. So I was listening to it on the train, and I generally sit in the quiet carriage on the train if there is one.
So you can't laugh out loud.
But that's the thing. Normally, I sit and I listen to an audiobook, and I'm listening to sort of Haunting of Hill House or Skullduggery Pleasant or whatever, and it's fine. And I swear it was only that one, but I kind of barked. And this is like within a 45 minute journey. This was the only noise I made, but a guy sitting sort of 6 seats ahead of me on the other side, did that thing where they rise up and oh, for God's sake, just shut up.
If you're allowed to sneeze, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I was sat in
go somewhere else if you want to do that.
In the quiet carriage on a train in Denmark once, and had a wonderful lesson in Danish, completely impartial directness. I was talking quietly to the person I was traveling with, and somebody just turned around and said, "You are too noisy, go somewhere else." And I'm like, all right, and we did.
Yeah.
And that was fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you see, they can do that
there
because they're not British. If a British person did that, it would be the rudest thing imaginable.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
But
so, can I? I did
put to ask you why building apps for mobile phones still sucks.
Thank you. Ask me why.
Why does building apps for mobile phones still suck?
Well, because there are two mobile phone operating systems, and one of them is iOS.
Yes.
And anything building software for anything Apple involves Xcode. So that's that one answered.
Yes.
And Android, you sort of think it's slightly easier, slightly better, and most people will probably not run into this, but Android is using the Dalvik VM, which is based on Java. It's a Java runtime. And one of the things that Java has that weirdly C# doesn't have is a pre-configured VM heap size. So when the VM spins up, it immediately goes, right, I have a VM heap size of, like, if you're running one of the JetBrains IDEs, it defaults to 2 gigabytes.
This is I've run into this while running Minecraft.
Yes.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, like in the time of the Pixel 6, the VM heap size was set to 228 megabytes. And the Pixel 6 had like 4 gigabytes total of RAM. Modern Android phones come with like 16, 18 gigabytes of RAM installed, and the VM heap size is 384 megabytes. And
is that per application? Like, is this your app gets that much? Yeah,
your app gets that much memory, and once you hit it, it's like there's no such thing as an out of memory exception. It just crashes.
It just hangs.
Which is enormous fun when you're sort of running a unit test on an actual device. And this is a setting kind of that the device maker has applied based on the amount of memory that they've put in there. You can't override it. And the only way around it is to do the bit of the application that needs to, load a speech recognition model in the TF Lite format, TensorFlow Lite format. You have to write that whole thing, anything that interacts with that, using the Android NDK and C++. Oh, wait, did I say C++? I meant C, because quite a lot of Google's libraries for Android development with the NDK have the C API is considered stable. The C++ APIs tend to be experimental. And so, and I'm kind of like, it's been 20 years, and I'm being told that I only have 384 megabytes of memory to play with. And I'm pretty sure that even 20 years ago, I would have expected to have more than 384 megabytes of memory to play with.
Well, listen, if you need to brush up on your C
skills,
I can recommend doing Advent of Code in C.
I
had fun. I didn't make it past day 15, but I had fun.
Can't you just vibe code it?
Yeah.
They have been. So Rendle was staying with me over the last weekend, and it was like you were vibe coding away.
I was vibe coding away on Gemini Pro, and
so you actually know what you're doing, so it's not really vibe coding. It's coding,
it's like I can read the code that it's generating, and I do generally get to a point where I just go, like, I literally typed into Gemini Pro's command line interface, oh my god, you have to stop, at one point, because it was annoying me intensely. But
you were doing some YAML, yelling at my laptop.
Yes, yeah. Also,
Stuart's in Utrecht.
sort of,
Hey, Stu.
hey, Stuart in Utrecht.
Enjoy Utrecht.
Yes, also, Eli was just sitting there very sort of happily and quietly and busily getting on with their work. And every now and then they would hear me testing my software by going, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day. Yes, or we happy few, we band of brothers.
When I built my speech recognition teleprompter thing last year, I needed a passage with a lot of complicated punctuation. And I picked the eddies in the space-time continuum bit from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yes.
And so I must have read that out loud about 100 times in the space of a week.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And this is his sofa, is it?
Sorry, Eli, you were saying.
Oh, I was just going to say it's going to be great when Rendle is actually up here living in the same city as me, and we're going to be able to like do co-working and
yes.
weird little
Eli is actually going to look at a flat for me tomorrow with the phone, because they called me first thing this morning and were like, "Oh, we're only doing viewings tomorrow," but it's a really promising flat. It's literally almost in the exact geometrical centre of the Sheffield city centre as defined by the Ring Road, which puts it half a mile from the station, and a 3-minute walk from the big Sainsbury's, a 3-minute walk from a really nice cinema, and
that's the Light, right?
Yeah, the Light.
Yeah, I have and I have memberships to that, and it's really nice.
Yes,
yeah.
And I will switch my Odeon membership to that, and then I can come with you guys and watch movies.
Movie nights. It's going to be great.
And despite being like right slap bang in the city centre, it actually has an underground car park, and you get an allocated parking space. Wow. And all this for an amount of money that I am not even going to share, because it is less than a third of what I currently pay for a house in Surrey. I think it's almost a quarter of what I'm currently paying for a house in Surrey, and it is just insane. Yeah,
my siblings might be moving to Sheffield soon as well, and I'm seeing them on Saturday. We're going to go and look at Rightmove together, so that'll be fun.
I must admit, I have always understood that London is expensive because lots of things happen here, and it's amazing, and I love it. I have never understood people who pay what it costs to live in Surrey to live in Surrey. It just baffles me.
Schools.
Yeah.
The schools are very good.
Childlessness wins again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have a little moment of schadenfreude yesterday when all the airports fell over because of problems. And it's like, it's the school holidays. I'm not flying anywhere. Yay.
Yeah.
Well, so this was last year.
Anderton's.
Anderton's is the only reason I go to Surrey.
Yeah.
I was going to KCDC last year.
Yes.
And I went to Manchester Airport to catch my flight. And they had a cascading power failure.
Yes.
And of course, it was this time last year. It was summer holidays. And it was just pandemonium. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Wasn't that the thing that we all decided was Martin's fault?
He was on his. He was there, but his plane was grounded in a way that insulated it from the electrical everything. So he was actually able to take off because his plane had landed the night before.
Right, and not because of
flying out on a plane that couldn't get in. He was flying out on a plane that was already there.
So that wasn't just it's not what you know, it's who you know.
I did hate him quite a little bit in that moment. But he was very lovely. He offered to let me use his travel agent and everything. You know, I got to KCDC in time. I got there in time to see people at house parties and things like that. KCDC is coming up now. It's very soon.
I'm not going to be there this year.
I'm not going to be there.
No.
I'm not going to be in America until 2030 at the earliest.
Yeah, I suspect you're not the only one. But I did get invited to go to an in-person conference in Ukraine this week. And
I got invited to that as well.
Yeah. IT Arena in Lviv is happening in September. And they're doing it in person, and they are inviting people and saying, we will pick you up in Warsaw and bring you in across the border. And Lviv is mostly fine, apart from actually being in a country that's having a war. And I can't do it because I'm going to be at Scotsoft in Edinburgh. So I had a cast iron reason to say not this time, but I was like, ask me again.
I've done Scotsoft. Is that the 1 day thing?
Yeah.
Where I've done that before. Yeah. It's lovely.
No, I did it a few years ago, and I've got family in Scotland, and Edinburgh is lovely, and they have it's a 1 day multi-track conference. Yeah. And then an awards dinner, which is the poshest thing I ever do anymore. because I have to dig out an actual like suit, and then for complicated reasons, I'm flying directly from Edinburgh to Cologne the next day to go to an industrial music festival. Because the band Voyager are playing one international concert this year because their singer has cancer. And Voyager are playing Euroblast, I think it's called.
That was so amazing that it actually prompted a real comment from a real person on Twitch.
Sorry, it's a prog festival. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Editing, always editing. That's wrong. Red pen.
Yes.
So what else is happening? So today, we have to plug this. Today is the last day to get early bird tickets for the Azure Dev Summit, which is in Lisbon in October. Yep. And if you book it before midnight, you get €200 off, which is what it'll cost you to fly there. So
yeah.
Queen of Darts resents the implication that she is real. We are all just manifest illusions in the consciousness of a simulation that has run out of research budget and doesn't know how to switch the simulation off, I think is where
this is actually bringing us back full circle to our little chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, hyperdimensional 11 dimensional hyper spiders or whatever it was.
I like that this podcast is just digests from the chat.
Well, that's where we get all of our material, So
that's where I spend my life. Where else am I going to get material from? Yes, my talk that I submitted for Azure Dev Summit is still in evaluation.
Is this the one you submitted as a potential keynote?
Yeah.
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 I console yourself with working on the stuff for our talk in September. So
I believe that there is a fairly complicated number of things that have to happen because Microsoft is involved. And Microsoft consists of a lot of very, very nice, lovely people who I have met, who I think generally have to get approval from legal and budget and somebody else before they're allowed to actually make anything happen.
Right. So actually, the fact that I have a recording of this talk might come in handy because it would mean I could send it to them and go, look, it's one of the good ones, not one of the ones where I go completely off the rails and say things that weren't supposed to be there. That thing that Martin always says, sometimes I see the words come out of your mouth and then I see the look on your face.
Yeah,
you realise what you've just said.
I was talking about that this week. I was running. I did two afternoons of presentation training on Zoom with
I was going to ask how that went.
All over. Yeah. It was good. I like running that one. It's always Zoom makes everything harder, just because you lose so much of the, just the context of being in a room with real people. So it's Zoom training is like trying to do stand-up comedy while flying an aeroplane, and if the audience realize they're in an aeroplane, you've failed. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, right, let's talk about that. And while you're talking to the camera and doing this, that's going to push the button on the Stream Deck that switches the screen share, and that's going for the PowerPoint thing. And it's fun doing it with a brand new computer because mostly pretty rock solid, but my Bluetooth keyboard just flaked out 3 times. I don't know why. So
is it the kind of thing that would be easier to do with a dog's body who does it the same, that does that with you every single time, and they know when to hit those buttons and whatever? And
it is. I've seriously thought I mean, this,
in Pacific Rim,
it's
you 2 people.
It's something that I think it could work with an in-person co-host. Mm-hmm. So 2 people physically in the same place.
Yeah, so that you can have that high bandwidth.
So effectively, it's like it's a presenter and a producer. You remember the Frasier radio scenes when he's in the studio and Roz is doing all the calls and you're on the air and caller line 1 and click and clack and he's just doing his thing.
And also you wouldn't feel so sort of isolated. There would be another person there,
Yeah. I've thought about doing that so the difficulty there is always the logistics because it means that you need somebody else to be in the right place at the right time. And I do the stuff from home and this room is not set up for another human. It's no. And
they need to know your material, which could be changing up until very close to the time that you're actually delivering. So
the one thing that I have often thought could work very well would be when I'm doing, because this one is very interactive. Everyone has their cameras on, everyone talks and presents, but when it's like sort of hardcore development training, it's basically like you typing for 2 days and explaining what you're doing, and then you any questions? And there are no questions because people don't like asking questions on Zoom. And you can see that they're alive because you can see the network traffic from them doing the exercises. And that one I've often thought, like with a co-presenter, and it could be like, you know what, we're basically going to bounce this between each other, and everyone else can learn from watching us talk about it. But if it's something that I did every week, then it would absolutely justify the investment in cranking the format up. As it is, I do, maybe I'm going to try to do this one 4 times a year. I think every 3 months I'm going to do one of these, which I think is enough that people who express an interest, I'm like, well, there's one in October.
Specifically the keyboard to keynote.
Keyboard to keynote, yeah.
Because
that one gets a lot of interest. The others, generally, what I rely on other people selling them for me because I suck at marketing.
It's hard.
And
it's especially hard if you're not comfortable feeling like a shill, which is a threshold.
Or if you're not comfortable saying I'm amazing,
which for me it makes me feel like a shill, like or like But the threshold for when you start feeling like that is so minuscule compared to the threshold at which point it actually starts being effective to do that marketing. You've got to go so far past that in order to actually be effective, which sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like I've been watching there's a Dev Summit. I've been watching that really closely because it's an interesting example for me of a very experienced, 2 experienced teams of people launching a new event. And it's like, what is it? Baader Meinhof, the thing that when you start noticing something, suddenly you see it everywhere. It has a name.
Synchronicity.
Recency bias? No.
It's definitely a complex named after some Germans, except it's not.
I know the thing you mean, though.
It's not named after the thing that it's named after. The phenomenon is named after.
It's got a name. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, frequency
this is
illusion.
what Origami Marie was saying about the annoying shortcuts are creeping in. I wanted to shout. I mean, we triggered the chat. I was just going to say Baader Meinhof were a terrorist group as well. Thanks,
so Baader Meinhof were a terrorist group, but the original paper was somebody pointing out that they had not heard of Baader Meinhof until it was mentioned in conversation, and then they saw it everywhere, despite there being no actual recent activity. And so the phenomenon of you noticing something because you're looking for it has been named after the Baader Meinhof group.
Right.
So the Baader Meinhof phenomenon is,
But no, so we triggered the chat talking about sort of simulation theory and all this sort of stuff, and Origami Marie said the simulation is having a hard time scaling to manage the number of people. Yeah, and I have actually come to the conclusion that the seed that they use to fractally generate different people is a 32-bit integer, which means they can signed integer, which means there can only be 2.147 billion different shapes and sizes and colors of people, which is why honestly, the older I get, the more I feel like they're reusing models.
Yeah,
like it's like I'm in GTA and you're kind of like going, why do all the bartenders look exactly the same in all the different bars?
You got to make yourself different. A shout out to Adele, who recently got a sick new tattoo.
But then Jeff also came back with, I've always presumed quantum theory is just an optimization thing rather than doing the hard sums on reality. And this has been my theory since I played the first Silent Hill game on the first PlayStation, because Silent Hill was insanely atmospheric, had the best audio design of any game ever, but the whole place, when you were outside, it was really foggy, so that they wouldn't have to render to the full distance of the street. And
it's like with Jaws, they didn't show it because it sucked,
Yeah, and this is a game optimization technique that they still use today.
Yeah,
they do level of detail and stuff, but it's basically fogging. If stuff is so far away that you can't see the detail, then why waste the processor cycles doing it? And I think this explains the quantum Heidegger's uncertainty principle, that we can either tell where something is or how fast it's moving, but not both at the same time. Heisenberg's
Heidegger is the one
principle.
where you go, it's heartbreaking. I had 2 volumes of Heidegger in my car, and overnight someone broke in and left 2 more.
Yes. Heidegger was a boozy beggar
who could think you under the table. Yes.
But it is we have a fastest speed that things can go, and we have a lowest temperature that things can be. And it's like, well, we're living in a simulation. Unfortunately, I subscribe to a theology and philosophy that means it's not my problem.
But yes, but no, quantum field theory. This notion that there are 4 or 5 fields that just are spread across the whole of reality.
That's what
and
fabric is. The
then
fabric of reality is made of,
everything is just ripples interacting with each other. So yeah, and when you move something, it's just the ripple that is you moving the ripple that is something else and pushing it in a different direction and stuff. So yeah, it is. This is a simulation.
And you have
But
that
it's
thing
a
about you want a physicist to
one.
speak at your funeral and talk about all the photons that ever bounced off you are going on forever, and you're still part of the universe. That's that. It's a lovely quote, but I can't remember who said it or when. But
because
I want the one that points out that every single person there has probably drunk a molecule of my piss.
I've
That's
heard
the
that
same
factoid as
theory,
the
but much more visceral. Yeah.
It's like everybody's related to. You don't have to go back that many generations. It's like we're probably all related to Henry
80 generations.
The one I always heard with that was Charlemagne.
Yes.
Like they went back to a
Big
point
Chaz.
where your number of ancestors exceeds the population of the world at that point. And
Pigeonhole principle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are the same.
Anyway, that was
On
fun.
that note-
Let's wrap it up.
We managed some stuff off the Trello this week, which is more than we did last week. So
Yay! Cool.
But yes, we'll be back.
Thank you for
again
tuning
next
in,
week
folks. We will
with
be back
more
again
of this
next week. More of this. I can't believe people watch this.
I know.
I know.
But then again, people watch TikTok, so I clearly know nothing about what.
We're back on that week. All right.
Have a great week, everyone. You'll take it easy out there. Look after each other, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.